Have you ever wondered why you suffer so much when something ends, when someone leaves, or when things don't go as you expected? Buddhism has a clear and powerful answer. We suffer because we cling. But there is a way out, a way to live with peace, freedom, and clarity. In this video, I'll show you why letting go isn't a loss but a liberation, and how this teaching, one of the most profound in Buddhism, can transform your life starting today. You don't need to believe in anything, just be willing to release. If this message resonates with you, if you're ready to break free from the weight of attachment and embrace a life of peace and liberation, then take the first step today. Hit the like button if this insight spoke to you. Subscribe for more transformative teachings and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Now I'd love to hear from you. What's one thing you're ready to let go of? Drop your answer in the comments below. Let's inspire each other to live lighter, freer and more fully. Breathe, release, begin. The art of letting go. Why do we cling? From the time we're young, we're taught to cling to people, ideas, achievements, the past, even pain. We're taught that if we lose something or someone, we lose a part of ourselves, and so we grow up confusing love with possession, security with control, identity with what we accumulate. But Buddhism flips this around. Everything you try to hold on to is precisely what causes you the most suffering. Attachment isn't just an emotion, it's a mental structure. It's how we create an illusion of permanence in a world that's constantly changing. We cling because we believe it will spare us pain, but in reality, it only multiplies it. We want things to last, people to never change, and good times to stay forever. And when that doesn't happen, we get frustrated, angry, or broken. The mind becomes addicted to external validation. We cling to a relationship that no longer serves us because we fear loneliness. We cling to a job that drains us because it gives us identity. We cling to an outdated image of ourselves. The fear of emptiness drives us to fill our lives with things we don't need and to hold on to situations that no longer belong to us. But here's the key. Buddhism isn't telling you to abandon everything or renounce what you love. It teaches you not to cling, to be present without dependence, to love without possession, to enjoy without demanding permanence. Because suffering arises when we confuse the temporary with the eternal. Why is it so hard to let go? Because attachment makes us feel secure. It gives us an illusion of control. It whispers, if you hold on to this, everything will be okay. But that's a trap. Life changes. It moves. And if you don't change with it, you get stuck in what no longer exists. And that hurts. Letting go isn't losing, it's liberating. It's making space for what's new, what's true, for what flows effortlessly. And this isn't learned overnight. It's practiced. Start by observing yourself. What are you holding on to tightly? What are you afraid to lose? What part of you needs to cling to feel valuable? Every time you choose to let go, you're choosing to trust life, change, and your ability to adapt. And though it may feel scary at first, it's a powerful form of liberation. The first step is awareness. To look at yourself honestly, recognize your attachments without judgment, and ask, does this bring me peace or take it away? When you realize you don't need to control, that you can live without clutching, a new peace emerges, lighter, more authentic, because what truly belongs to you doesn't need to be forced, it simply flows. Anitya, impermanence as the path to freedom. Everything changes. You know this, but rarely do you live with full clarity. Buddhism gives this universal truth a name, anitya, impermanence. At first glance, it may seem negative or sad, but deeply understanding impermanence is one of the most powerful keys to ending suffering. Imagine for a moment that nothing ever changed, that every emotion, pain, thought, or difficult situation remained static forever. It would be unbearable. Yet when we enjoy something, when someone makes us happy or we're in a phase we love, we want to freeze it. We don't want it to change. We try to hold on to it. And that's where the struggle begins. Suffering doesn't come from change. It comes from resisting change. Buddhism is clear. Everything with form transforms. Everything that begins, ends. Not as punishment, but as part of life's natural flow. And when we stop fighting it, when we accept that nothing is fixed, something invaluable arises, freedom. Accepting impermanence doesn't mean resignation, it means opening your eyes, seeing that clinging to what's already gone only drains your energy, that trying to preserve what can't be preserved only brings frustration, that letting go isn't surrender, it's aligning with reality as it is. Look at nature. No leaf stays forever on its tree. No season remains fixed, no wave in the ocean is the same as the last, and yet everything moves in harmony, in beauty, Impermanence isn't a flaw, it's what gives life meaning. It makes every moment unique, every encounter precious, because nothing is guaranteed, nothing is eternal. When you understand this, you stop obsessing over holding on, you start enjoying the present more deeply, you value those around you without taking them for granted. You let go with more peace when something ends, because you know it's natural. Change isn't breaking you, it's teaching you to flow. Impermanence also helps with emotions. When you're sad, anxious or angry, knowing this too shall pass brings hope. When you're happy, calm or in love, knowing it won't last teaches you to savor the present without expecting it to last forever. You live with more awareness, more gratitude. Non-attachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you can love without needing to possess, enjoy without clinging, be present without fearing what comes next, because you understand everything is in constant motion, and you're part of that motion. Accepting. Impermanence is accepting life in its purest form, and in that deep acceptance, true freedom begins. Dukkha, recognizing inherent suffering. There's a word the Buddha repeated over and over, dukkha. It's central to all his teachings. Dukkha isn't just suffering, though that's the most common translation. It refers to that deep discomfort, the constant sense that something doesn't fit, that something's missing, that even in moments of joy, there's an underlying unease that never fully disappears. And the most striking thing? Buddhism doesn't say this discomfort is occasional. It says it's present in every experience born from attachment, illusion, and the desire for life to be different than it is. When we don't accept what is, when we demand things meet our expectations, that's where dukkha begins. Why do we suffer when someone disappoints us? Because we expected something from them. Why does it hurt when things don't go as planned? Because we were attached to an outcome. Why is it hard to let go of the past? Because we believed our happiness was there. All of this is dukkha, living from the desire to control the uncontrollable. But Buddhism doesn't leave you there. It doesn't just point out suffering, it shows a way out. And the first step is to recognize it, without masking it, without distractions, without excuses, to see honestly that there's a part of you always searching, chasing, resisting what is. And though that part tries to protect you, it keeps you trapped. Dukkha shows up in subtle ways: anxiety about the future, nostalgia for the past, constant comparison, fear of losing what you have, and in intense ways, sadness, anger, frustration, emptiness. It's not always sharp pain. Sometimes it's a lingering dissatisfaction, like an unquenchable thirst. The key is to stop looking outward, to stop thinking that once you have that relationship, that job, that recognition, then you'll be okay, because that promise is an illusion. And every time you chase it, you drift further from the present, further from yourself. Suffering doesn't vanish overnight, but it starts losing power when you see it clearly, when you stop blaming others or circumstances and start looking within, when you recognize that part of your discomfort comes from not accepting life as it is, not to resign yourself, but to stop fighting the inevitable. And that honest look is liberating, because it gives you back control. You no longer depend on everything being perfect to feel okay. You start cultivating a calm that doesn't depend on externals, a peace that comes from understanding suffering has causes, and if you change those causes, you can change your experience. Dukkha isn't a punishment, it's a signal, an opportunity to awaken, to question everything you've been taught about happiness, success, love, and discover for yourself a more authentic way to live. Anatta, the illusion of a permanent self. Perhaps Buddhism's most disorienting teaching is this: there is no permanent self, no fixed, solid, unchanging you. This is called anatta, and though it may sound strange at first, if you truly grasp this idea, you begin to release immense suffering. Suffering that comes from the need to protect and maintain a rigid identity. From the moment we gain consciousness, we construct an image of ourselves. I am like this, I like this, I'm not that kind of person. We define who we are and start acting to uphold that image. But in that effort to maintain an identity, enormous pressure arises, because we change, we feel differently, desire new things, yet our idea of self doesn't allow it. Buddhism proposes something radical. The self isn't a thing, it's a process. Not something to discover, but something that happens moment to moment. And when you understand that, you no longer need to cling to being one way. You can change. You can stop carrying a story. You can free yourself from the character you've built. Much of attachment comes from this false identity. We cling to relationships because they make us feel valuable, to jobs because they define us, to routines because they give us structure. But if all that disappeared, who are you? That question may bring vertigo, but it's also a huge door to freedom. Imagine for a moment, you don't need to defend an image of yourself. You don't have to prove anything. You're not obligated to remain who you were. What could you let go of? What could you change? What parts of yourself could you free? Anatta doesn't say you don't exist. It says you're not a static thing. You are change. You are movement. You are awareness, flowing. And when you stop thinking of yourself as a fixed structure, the possibility opens to transform into something lighter, more authentic, more connected to real life, not to an idea of who you should be. This also has a huge impact on relationships. Often we suffer because we want others to stay as they were at the beginning, but if you change, why wouldn't they also change? Letting go of a fixed idea of others is also a way to release suffering, to let people change, evolve, or leave if needed. This isn't just theory for intellectuals, it's a practice of constant observation. Every time you react rigidly, ask yourself, who is reacting? Is this a part of me I no longer need? Is this a reflex of an identity that weighs me down? You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are not your memories. You are the space where all that occurs. And when you see that clearly, you stop defending so much. You stop fearing so much. And you can finally begin to live with more lightness, openness, and truth. Tilopa, the 6 instructions of the rebel master. Tilopa wasn't a traditional monk. He didn't live in temples, wear ornaments, or preach in sacred halls. You'd find him grinding sesame seeds, walking barefoot, talking to beggars, withdrawn from the world yet deeply connected to his essence. He was a radical, free, and direct master, and from that place, he left one of the simplest yet most challenging teachings for those seeking to let go. His instructions are just 6 phrases, but they contain centuries of wisdom. They're not philosophical concepts, they're internal actions, shifts in focus, clear clues to release what weighs you down, distracts you, or pulls you away from yourself. Don't recall. Sounds odd, right? But think about how much suffering comes from reliving the past, replaying wounds, mistakes, glories that no longer exist. Tilopa says, don't recall. Not that you forget your history, but that you stop clinging to it, that you don't live. From there, don't imagine. How often do we suffer over scenarios that haven't even happened? We imagine losses, rejections, failures, and also castles in the air that later don't come true. We imagine so much that we stop seeing what is. Tilopa cuts that at the root. Don't imagine. Stay with what's real. Don't think. This doesn't mean turning off the mind. It means stopping the construction of mental theories, judgments, and stories that distort what you're experiencing. Overthinking separates you from the present, fills you with noise. Tilopa suggests, drop the analysis. Return to simplicity. Feel, observe, live. Don't examine. This one's tough because we're taught to analyze everything, to search for causes, meanings, explanations, but sometimes analysis only perpetuates conflict. Tilopa says, don't dig deeper. Don't label every emotion. Just observe it, feel it, and let it pass like a cloud. Don't control. Here lies one of the deepest roots of suffering, the desire to control life, others, even our own emotions. But you can't control the ocean. You can learn to surf it, but not to stop it. Tilopa knew this, so he tells you, let go of control, trust the natural flow of things. Relax in what is. This one needs no translation. It's the culmination of everything. Relax in what you feel, in what's happening, in yourself. Stop fighting, searching, escaping. Relax in what is, because only there does true transformation begin. These 6 instructions aren't steps to follow mechanically. They're invitations to a direct experience of freedom, to be with what is, without adornment, resistance, or escape. Tilopa didn't want you to follow him. He wanted you to awaken, to realize that everything you seek is already within you, but covered in layers of thoughts, memories, desires, and fear. When you apply these instructions, even for a few minutes a day, something in you starts to change. You stop living outward. You start inhabiting your own silence, your own truth, and in a world full of noise, that alone is a revolution. Meditation. Practices to cultivate non-attachment. Non-attachment isn't an idea you simply understand. It's a practice, something you train daily, like a muscle. And the most powerful tool Buddhism offers to cultivate this is meditation. But we're not talking about an esoteric or complicated technique. We're talking about returning to yourself, being present, observing without getting hooked, and that's within everyone's reach. Mindfulness of breathing, it seems simple but is profound. Sit in silence, close your eyes, and bring your attention to the breath moving in and out. When the mind wanders, and it will many times, just gently return, without judgment, without expectation. What does this have to do with non-attachment? Everything. Because you're training your mind not to cling, not to chase every thought as if it were important. You're learning to let go, even of what happens inside you. Observation, without judgment. This isn't about avoiding emotions or thoughts. It's about observing them without labeling them as good or bad. If sadness arises, just note, there's sadness. If anxiety appears, note, there's anxiety. Nothing more. Don't tell yourself stories. Don't try to change it. Just observe, because when you don't react, when you don't attach to the emotion, it passes on its own. Loving kindness meditation. Metta. Here you train yourself to wish well. First for yourself, then for others, including those you've had conflicts with. This practice softens the heart, and as it softens, it releases grudges, resentment, attachment to past wounds, all that begins to dissolve when you cultivate this form of unconditional love. Contemplating impermanence, meditate on change, on how everything that arises passes, how nothing is fixed. You can do this by watching a candle burn down, observing the shifting sky, remembering that each moment is unique. This meditation isn't sad, it's deeply liberating because it teaches you to live more intensely, more presently, more lightly. Letting go in the moment. You're in an argument, and notice your mind clinging to being right. Right then, breathe and let go. Not because you're weak, but because you understand that fight costs you more than it gives. You're caught in obsessive thoughts instead of feeding them. Recognize them and choose not to engage. That's meditation in action. Meditating isn't escaping the world. It's training yourself to be in the world with more wisdom, to relate to your thoughts, emotions, and relationships from a calmer, freer place. Not to stop feeling, but to stop depending. Non-attachment isn't coldness, it's clarity, and that clarity is born from silence, from observation, from the constant practice of returning to yourself, every day, every moment, every breath. Applying the Noble Eightfold Path in daily life, the Buddha didn't just speak of profound concepts like impermanence, non-attachment, or emptiness. He also left a very concrete path to liberate oneself from suffering, the Noble Eightfold Path. This isn't a religious or dogmatic path. It's a practical guide to living with more awareness, less attachment, and much more peace. Right understanding. This isn't about believing something. It's about seeing reality clearly, understanding that everything changes. Clinging creates suffering. Everything we seek outside actually comes from within. This understanding isn't theoretical. It's like opening your eyes. When you see clearly, you act differently. Right intention, living from a pure intention, not moved by hatred, ambition, or a desire to control, but by compassion, generosity, and truth. Before doing something, ask yourself, where is this coming from? What am I seeking? If you see it's born from fear or attachment, breathe and choose differently. Right speech. This is where things get concrete. How do you use your words? To unite or divide? To harm or heal? Every time you choose to speak, consciously, without lies, exaggeration, or harm, you're practicing non-attachment. Because you don't need to impose, convince, or dominate. You just express from truth and peace. Right? Action. Your actions are an extension of your mind. What do you do with your body, your energy, your time? The path of non-attachment is also built through conscious actions, not harming, not taking what isn't yours, not using others, living with integrity, without guilt, without fear, but with clarity. Right livelihood. This is about how you earn your living, how you spend your days. Does your work connect you with values that matter, or does it just feed your need for recognition? Do you live to consume or to serve? This isn't about perfection. It's about aligning what you do with who you want to be. Right effort. Here comes discipline. Non-attachment isn't achieved overnight. It requires intention and consistency. Right effort isn't about forcing or exhausting yourself. It's that loving push that keeps you practicing, choosing what uplifts you, leaving behind what entangles you. Right mindfulness. This is the foundation of everything. Being present, awake, not living on autopilot, not reacting without realizing it. Mindfulness is the art of observing each moment, each emotion, each word with clarity, and that, little by little, gives you the power to choose, to let go, to transform. Right concentration. This is deep calm, the state you cultivate when you meditate, when you're in silence, when you connect with yourself. It's a focused mind, not a scattered one. And from there you see everything more clearly, feel more deeply, let go more easily, because you're not agitated, you're at peace. The Noble Eightfold Path isn't a ladder you climb. It's a circle, a way of living. And each time you practice one part, the others grow stronger. It's a way to turn every moment into an opportunity to live with less burden, more meaning, and more freedom. Integrating, non-attachment, living with freedom and compassion, everything we've explored so far is useless if it stays as ideas. Non-attachment isn't a nice theory or a distant goal. It's a way of being in the world, a way to live lighter, more connected, more free, and also more compassionate. Because when you release your attachments, you don't just free yourself, you also stop demanding the world to complete you, obey you, or fit your expectations. Living with non-attachment isn't distancing yourself from everything, it's being able to approach without losing yourself. It's loving without needing to possess, enjoying without fearing loss, being present without anxiety for the future or nostalgia for the past. And this isn't achieved through grand speeches, but through small daily acts. Detaching doesn't mean disconnecting. On the contrary, you connect better, because you no longer love from lack, but from wholeness. You no longer help to feel useful, but because you see others as part of yourself. You no longer need to control anyone, because you trust each person's process. And that trust is peace. Start with the simple. Release a complaint, a comparison, an object you no longer use, a relationship you only hold on to out of fear, a belief that no longer serves you, a need for approval, a habit that keeps you stuck. You don't need to change everything today. Just let go of one thing, one idea, one reaction, and if you fall back, if you cling again, it's okay. Observe, breathe, let go once more. This path isn't about perfection, it's about awareness, about being present in your own process, without rushing, without punishing yourself, without competing with anyone. Non-attachment also makes you more compassionate because you understand everyone is dealing with their own attachments, fears, expectations, and losses. And when you stop judging your own suffering, you stop judging others. You look with more tenderness, patience, and humanity. There's no finish line, no diploma that says, now you're detached. What exists is constant transformation, a lifestyle, an attitude toward existence that says, I trust, I let go, I open, I am present. And if you wonder how to know if you're progressing, there's a clear sign. You feel lighter, more at peace, more authentic. You get upset less, control less, need less, but love more, appreciate more, enjoy more. Living with non-attachment is living with trust in the moment. It's not needing life to be perfect to be at peace. And that, perhaps, is the greatest achievement of all. If this video made you reflect, if anything you heard touched you or helped, you see things differently, then this message has fulfilled its purpose. Non-attachment isn't coldness or distance. It's the key that opens the door to a freer, more conscious, more authentic life. Subscribe to the channel if you want to. Keep deepening these teachings. Here we share real tools to live better, without masks, without burdens, without unnecessary suffering. Now tell me in the comments, what's the hardest thing for you to let go of? Which teaching from this video stayed with you? I'd love to know. You and continue the conversation there. See you in the next video. Until then, breathe and let go. With gratitude, Daily Dharma.